Awesome. Okay, so we're here again for another Creative Coffee Cafe, episode seven. There we go. And I'm super excited to bring on my guest today, Amanda Sloan, who is Canadian, but has jumped the ocean and been residing in Northern Ireland. So if you pick up some Irish tones or accents with her, that's exactly why, which is really great. And so she's back in Canada right now, and she's been able to connect with me for today's chat. So I wanted to bring her on because Amanda and her boyfriend or partner, or whatever you want to call them, both business partner / boyfriend, they run their own business at Thankful Cow Solutions, right?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yes. And she specializes in food and coffee, which is something that I'm also passionate about, and social media. So without further ado, please welcome Amanda to the table. And if you're popping in to join with us today, make sure you say hello. Your number one fan is already here.
He's giving me a cow. Hey, cowboy.
Oh, that's so funny. Cowboy, cowgirl.
I just came out. I'm like, oh, that's quite good.
All right. So let us know a little bit more about you, Amanda.
Okay. Hi, I'm Amanda, and I am one half of Thankful Cow Solutions. My other half is in the comments dropping cows. It's Tom. So yeah, I am Canadian, and I live in Northern Ireland, and I have for 10 years. So I'm home for a wedding and to see some family, and really happy to be here and connecting and chatting with Brooke and chatting with everyone here.
Yes.
So I have a background in restaurants and coffee shops and food and coffee, and I've put all of that to good use and opened up my own business with Tom. I do some virtual assistants for people, mainly people in like the health and wellness and fitness, those kind of industries. I do copywriting in the same industry, and I do social media strategy for restaurants and coffee shops.
Yes, which is one of the things that really piqued my interest, not only because this is the Creative Coffee Cafe, but I freaking love food and I love coffee. And I think there's tons of fun things that we can talk about even in that space, that regardless of whether your business is in that industry, there is going to be tons of nuggets coming out of this conversation that you can apply to any business, right? Because the people watching, like, you guys don't know, but I literally just met Amanda like less than an hour ago. And I already have a full page of notes and cool things that we're going to get to talk about today. So I'm super excited to have you on. We've been talking back and forth for a few weeks trying to line this up, but today's the day.
We are here, and I'm so excited to finally get to chat and drop the cow, as Tom has said.
Yeah, dropping the cow.
Dropping the cow.
Oh, well, I did watch, like I said before, I kind of Facebook stalked you a little bit before we come on. And I did watch some of your videos and stuff, and it does look like that you and Tom have a really great, cool like relationship and vibe about you. So I think you guys are probably really fun people.
I like to think so too.
Looks like Emma's got her coffee. I got my coffee.
I've got mine.
And Hannah Dixon. Hey, Hannah, welcome.
Hey, Hannah.
Awesome. All right. Yay, hooray, you've got a stalker. Yes. So
I've
just a little
made it in the world. I have a stalker.
Right. Well, we kind of all want everybody to stalk us a little bit, right? That's the whole point of putting yourselves out there on social media.
Exactly.
For those of you who don't know, last week I started talking about how I tend to get a few creepers coming onto the show who, like, I like to envision this as us sitting at the table in a coffee shop. And everybody joining us live right now, you guys are at the table with us having this conversation.
Yeah.
So if you're coming in and you're not saying hi and you're not engaging, you're kind of like that creeper that's at the table next to us that keeps leaning in and overhearing what's going on. So don't be a coffee cafe creeper. Make sure that you come in and you say hi. And if we can't get to you, because I see there's lots of comments coming in here already, then we'll make sure we say hi. And oh, they are really fun people. It's been confirmed you're fun.
Yay, thanks, Emma.
Awesome. Okay, So let's get started. I think you mentioned it at the beginning, but if not, you had told me prior to this that you used to own a restaurant, right? So not only do you now want to help other restaurant owners with their social media in all the different ways that you do, whether it's VA or copywriting or strategy or whatever, but let's talk a little bit about your world when you were running a restaurant and some of the, I guess, trials and tribulations that you went through with trying to figure out this whole social media thing.
Okay. Well, yeah. So social media to me, it was something that I wanted to include in my restaurant from the start. I made the announcement about my restaurant like months before we started building up a Facebook page. And then when we actually opened our doors, trying to keep up with it was kind of mental because I was getting up at 6 a.m, maybe earlier, coming home at 9 o'clock or later at night. So tired, was just run off my feet. And I was like, well, how do you keep up with this? So I would go through periods where I would have posts going up and then I would have stretches where nothing was going up because I hadn't planned for it. I was like, oh, I'll put something up in the morning, but then the morning was busy. Yeah. And so there was no structure, no discipline, and it kind of started to fall flat on its face.
Well, I totally can understand that. Like I said, I've never owned a restaurant, but I had been a server in a restaurant for many years. And it's still one of the, in my opinion, I think one of the best, most fun jobs because you get to talk with people all day, right? And as long as you're good at what you do, then it's a pleasure to do that kind of work. But it's one of those industries where you can think you're going to get certain amount of things done, but then life happens.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden you're thrown off course because the restaurant industry is super busy and a lot of things are just like on the fly, right?
Exactly. So like everything is happening and you're like, oh, I should take a picture of that. So then my phone ended up with hundreds of pictures and they just sat on my phone. I was like, I never get a chance to post these. What am I going to do? Yeah. So I actually ended up hiring somebody to help us with marketing. It wasn't anything specifically about social media or anything. It was just some outside eyes to come in and she was just starting out, so she gave us a really good rate. So it worked out really well for both of us. We gave her a stellar review. She gave us some great information. And it was seeing like her ideas, which I only took maybe about half of them, but putting her kind of ideas and then working out what works for us and doing some trial and error and figuring out how to prioritize posting and keeping my Facebook updated when I was that busy all day, every day, and finding that kind of structure and balance and making sure that we were there, showing up when we didn't have time. And I started to see like the benefit and the increase in sales, and it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, because here's the thing with restaurants. You want to go to a restaurant that's busy. Yes. Because it means that it's good, right? And people enjoy it. Now, well, I understand that life gets busy and you can't always be posting and interacting with people on social media, but because if you're leaving that and it's not getting done, now you're leaving the impression on your social media that you don't care or you're not busy or whatever, right? Like, so that you need to find that real happy medium where you're able to kind of showcase or build up the expectations that you're busy and whatever, but not be so busy that you can't handle it or you can't do it on your own, right?
Exactly. Like, I don't know about you, Brooke, but when I'm looking up a restaurant for the first time before I go there, because I'm vegan as well, so I prioritize looking up a menu before I go somewhere because it just saves a lot of hassle and awkwardness and embarrassment from both parts. Like, do you have anything that I can eat? So I look up a restaurant before I ever go to it. And I know a lot of people with food allergies and food sensitivities, and even just people looking for a nice meal, like they look up your restaurant before they go anywhere. And if they're not already looking it up on Facebook, Facebook is often the first thing that comes up on a Google search. So they're going to be looking at your Facebook. That's why it's so important to have it there and present and visible. And most importantly as well, your menu being on there so that people just can see it at a glance.
Exactly. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to find out the menu or what somebody serves and it not being there, right? Like even on a website, if you can't find the menu on a website or whatever, it's frustrating, and I don't have time to do that. And I'm not going to always call or be that annoying person. So I totally agree. I just wanted to show you this before we keep going. You've got, I think it's
Kiri, yeah.
Yeah, watching from Playa del Carmen with a coffee in her hand. Lucky gal.
Kiri.
Wonderful. So somebody here says we don't schedule posts. We like to challenge ourselves. Well, that would be a little bit of a challenge. Both Amanda and I have the same sort of theory or ideals about how we should handle this. So I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit. How do you think you should handle this kind of being real time, but also having something ready to go to help you?
I think like it's important to schedule posts. Not necessarily every single post, but as a restaurant, I think you should be posting 3 to 5 times a day at like times that's going to target your audience. Like just before lunch, for example, is a really good one. But of course, there's things that come about that maybe you haven't previously thought of. So you want to leave yourself that space that you can post something in and be like, oh, here, by the way, we have, there's a mariachi band that's just walked in the door. Why not come down or like hop on Facebook Live? Like, I think it's so important to also have that spur of the moment, spontaneous interaction.
The freedom and the flexibility to be able to do that.
Definitely. But then on the flip side of that, when you are busy and you don't have anything posted and all of a sudden it's after lunch, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like, I have not posted anything on Facebook all day. I've been so busy. And that's maybe why I only sold like 10 of my daily special instead of the usual 20. I didn't post about it just before lunch. I just picked those figures out. They are quite low, but you know,
well, it depends. You just have a small little seat, like maybe it's a really quaint little private.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like mine was quite small, so that's I would have been thrilled to sell 20 of my daily special on a Friday. I'd be like, yes.
Well, and like if you're saying that you get too busy to do this stuff, I want people to acknowledge that. And if you are an entrepreneur or any sort of business owner, you understand that busy doesn't mean you're always busy making money. Like you're not always busy in the restaurant selling dishes. You are busy putting out fires, dealing with employees, ordering food, like cleaning, like all that other stuff that goes in the background. So you need to focus on being busy or giving yourself the opportunity to make more sales, right? Instead of getting caught with that whole busyness disease.
Exactly. And that's it exactly. Like having that post go up, you're like, oh, I know that my daily special post went up, so that's okay. I can put out this literal pot of rice that has gone on fire.
I've never started rice on fire.
I haven't, but I have had to put out a pot of rice that went on fire that one of my staff was like supposed to look. I was like, oh, how did this happen?
See, and then you could use that to your advantage and you could make fun of it, right? Because I think sometimes people are afraid to make fun of themselves on social media too. But that just happened. And it just makes you like a real person, right? It humanizes your business a little bit. So, you know, you can kind of poke fun at little things like that.
For sure. There's a picture of me up on my restaurant's old Facebook page. And I'm standing up on a little stool. I'm bent over this huge pot with my hands in it because I was making like some energy balls, and somebody just came in and was like smiling. I was like, hi. Just because like it was so ridiculous because I'm so small and this was so high up, and I'm just like
elbows deep in like probably peanut butter and oatmeal and all that other stuff.
That's exactly So
yeah, what a sticky situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monica says there are people who are afraid to make a fool out of themselves online. Yeah,
there are. Not Monica. Monica does she's live every week over on her Facebook page, and the last few have been particularly candid. And I say that with love, Monica. Don't worry.
Well, candid can be good. Candid can be good. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about live. We never chatted about this before we went on, but I do know that I talk a little bit about live, and I've had people say, like, for Creative Coffee Cafe, we should talk a little bit more about how to go live. There's this huge stigma around going live. People are afraid. They're like, what if I screw up? What if I say something wrong? What if people don't like me? Oh, all that other head game shit that's going on. But I was looking at your page and I seen that you had recently done like a 30-day go live sort of challenge or whatever for yourself. So what's a few things you kind of learned from that maybe people can apply?
That 30 days is a long time. That would be my number one thing. Like I went from never going live on my Facebook page before to going live every single day. And it's not just like pressing go live. You actually should be putting some kind of effort into what you're going to say before you just show up. Otherwise you could be talking and you're like, oh, I actually wanted to talk about this specific topic and I haven't even mentioned it. And I've been on here for like 20 minutes.
Right.
So having some kind of structure in place, knowing at least the gist of what you want to talk about. I would have made myself a few show notes. But like it was taking me for maybe a 10-minute stream. It was taking me between 30 to 50 minutes every day just to kind of plan that out. If I was to do it again, I'd probably plan out maybe almost at the beginning, all of it, and then just adjust it if I needed to, like actual show notes and things to kind of take down the daily time. Because again, it's like scheduling for your restaurant. Make it easier every day. So,
well, yeah, it certainly depends on what you're planning on talking about during your lives too. How much prep and planning, right? Like,
definitely.
I would assume that you were going on to do more teaching and training style stuff. So that does take a little bit more time and planning or whatever, right? But so if we were talking about restaurants or cafes or whatever, like what you kind of specialize in, I could see somebody in that position maybe planning every morning, like as you're getting like you're doing all your prep that morning for the day or whatever, like maybe you could go live at that time and interact with your employees in the back and talk about what you're doing and what the specials are that day and like all that sort of stuff too. And it would just feel natural, and it would script itself, because you could go on even just for 5 minutes, and that would be so much cooler than just posting this is our special today, right?
I think that would be amazing. It's something that I didn't do at my restaurant. I only went live a couple times and it was not about that. But looking back, I'm like, that would have been amazing. Like that would have been such an innovative way to chat and to like show not just our specials, but also the personality of the people that you're being served by. Like be like, oh, I actually do want to go in. Amanda and Kathy are on today and they're really awesome. And, I love going in, seeing their interactions and having the chat and the banter and everything. And, and also Moroccan sweet potato stew's on, even better.
Right.
So,
well, and we were talking about this as one of the tips or the things that, restaurant owners or any business owner can do is spend a little bit more time trying to figure out ways to sort of introduce your staff to your social media world and to your people, because I want to get to know you guys before I get in to walk into your door. And if it's Pete cooking in the kitchen that day, or, or John or Tom or whoever the heck, I don't know, Tom, does Tom cook?
Sometimes.
we know who the chef is in the family, but if we can get to know those people that are in the kitchen that we don't get to always see, that's kind of cool to be like, I know that guy, or he made that dish, or it feels like there's a more personal connection there.
Exactly. And I was telling you before we came on live here, one of my favorite restaurants, coffee shops in Belfast, it's they've started this series of showcasing their suppliers, their staff, their customers, people that have helped to build their community. And it's so nice to see. And like we see, for example, the chef in the back, like you said, and this is why they're so amazing. And this is what they contribute to this team. Or this is our supplier. They bake bread daily. They bring it in the morning, and it's phenomenal. This is who he is. If you ever see him in the street, be like, hey, Jake, thanks for the food.
Yeah. And that creates a reciprocity between your business and your suppliers and stuff too, because they're going to share some of your content and you're going to share some of their content. And it's all about building relationships. Whoa. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought it? Exactly. Like with some of our suppliers, we were in quite a smaller town.
Sorry, I had to show that Tom said he's very skilled on the
Yes, he is. Yeah, we don't use it a lot, but he is good at it. But yeah, like my restaurant was in quite a small town, smallish town, and one of our suppliers was just up the street from us, and they had I think it was their 10th anniversary. So on that day, like I put up this big post about how amazing they are, how great they like make the town, and how everything comes from them, and just like it was that good communication and just like you say, that relationship building. And it was like I felt like even before I knew why I was doing it, it was so important to do it, Right.
And it probably didn't feel like you were trying to ride on the coattails of that 10th anniversary, because you already have a relationship built with them, right? Like if it would have just kind of come out of the blue, it might have felt sort of like a promotional scheme, right? Just to get the added reach or whatever. But when it's organic and natural and already there, use it to your benefit, but do it because it feels good and it's just the right thing to do. And that's how you actually properly use social media.
Exactly. Like you build relationships and know, like, and trust. Like that know, like, and trust factor is so important. And it's not just for online businesses. It's for brick and mortar businesses, for restaurants and coffee shops. You need to trust people.
Yeah. Well, they're making food that you're going to consume. Like there needs to be a little bit of trust there.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, so that leads us into something that we didn't really dive into, but I want to know. You were saying that you like to kind of analyze business pages and stuff when you're working with them, and you kind of look to see what defines good social media and what defines bad social media. So let's talk about some of the no-nos you've seen. And of course, we don't have to like drag anybody's name through the mud, but I'm sure we've all seen other people doing the same thing. So what's some bad stuff that we should be avoiding?
Okay, I'll use like restaurants and coffee shops specifically to highlight some bad things. So there is this controversial restaurant / B&B down in Dublin, and have to say they get this incredible engagement and reach, and like people probably almost all over the world know who they are. And I think, forgive my French, that they're knobs. I think they're horrible people. They're so controversial. They're so rude. And
sorry, I'm laughing at you said forgive my French and you said knob. I was waiting for like an F-bomb or something, because like that's how I roll.
Sorry, no, yeah, that just works. Forgive my French. That was such a Canadian thing to say as well. Like, oh, pardon my French. But their whole business plan and their social media strategy is to post this really controversial stuff, like topics, and like they argue and they provoke, and like I figure I don't ever want to go there because I think you guys are assholes. Like I don't want to go anywhere near you. And yes, like sure, their social media might be blowing up and it might be amazing for them. I have no idea what their actual business is like, but I just have this view of them that like they're not cool people. And
so do you, in your opinion, do you think that controversy, that strategy they're using is probably getting them really good reach? But if you're a restaurant and a B&B, do you think that they're like finding a way to actually monetize on that? Like I'm having a hard time seeing the correlation on how something like that would work to actually bring in sales.
I feel like they're getting perhaps their target audience.
So they want to serve assholes?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've not been. I've no desire to go to them. But if that's the kind of customer that they want, is these narrow-minded, rude people, and it's working for them, that's great. But I like to think that there's more nice people in the world than there are assholes. So well, I don't think that, I personally, I don't think that's a good marketing strategy to have.
Yeah, if it doesn't fit your culture, and if it doesn't fit, and who knows, maybe the restaurant owner, that's their personality. Therefore, that's how they're going to go about doing their marketing, and they're going to attract the people that relate to them. And and if it works for them, that's cool. But I do know there's other tactics that I've seen people use where they're trying to just get tons of reach. And everybody's always hooked up on all those vanity metrics of, how many comments and likes and shares did I get? But you got to be careful because it has to correlate to your business somehow. Exactly. And you want to make sure that not every single post, but a majority of them is bringing people down a journey that's going to relate or result in some sales, right? I don't know. That's just my.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Sure, it's nice to see likes and comments and reach. And I got really excited last week because our Facebook page was up in engagement and reach 10,000%.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is so awesome. And I'm like, but just because
but what did you do the week before?
Yeah, well, I reached out to some people that I know, and I was like, hey, you should read this post. I think it would benefit from you, or I think it would benefit you or something. Yeah. And then all of a sudden my reach was but at the end of the day, it didn't matter that my reach was that good because it didn't affect my bottom line. It didn't affect my sales. Not immediately anyways.
Right. And if it's in this case, it was valuable information that people can actually use. I find that those sorts of things, they just take more time to result in a sale or a purchase because this is just you building your relationship with people. And I really like the way that you actually private messaged a few people about it. And I tell people to do that too. If it makes sense and if it feels good and you actually already know this person a little bit, that you can say, hey, so-and-so, I just put up this blog post that talks about something we were talking about last week that you might be interested in. So if you want to go check it out, here's the link. That feels good to me.
Yeah, same. It didn't feel in any way forced. It was a post about virtual assistants actually. So I was like, here, I'll send it to a virtual assistant trainer. I'll send it to, somebody in the remote work industry, and be like, here, this could relate to, it relates to your industries and possibly people that you work with and teach.
Right.
You don't have to share it. Just thought that you'd maybe like to see it. And
right. And if they want to share it, they will. And then they'll actually be excited about it instead of feeling like they were forced to share it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to put the feel-good vibes out there with your stuff. It can't just all be salesy. We're all in business at the end of the day because we're trying to make money. Because if you're not, I've said it lots before, if you're not making any money, it's just a really expensive hobby. So yes, we're all business owners, but you don't have to be blasting salesy type stuff all the time. It's, invest the little amount of time that you have to be authentic and build real relationships. And the other stuff will come after.
Exactly. I actually think that your salesy posts should be the least amount of anything that you're posting. It should all be about building your credibility, building your relationships, and just showing your consistency even more than anything else, just that you're going to be there and also that you're awesome.
Exactly. And I know it depends on the industry you're in. There are some industries and some Facebook pages where it is more difficult to get away from some of that salesy posting. But then you just got to be careful with what kind of language and stuff you use. I feel like you can still sell something without being like, hey, this is on sale, this is a special, tell a little story about it. Or I love storytelling. So I love creating fun videos and different things showing behind the scenes of how this service works or whatever. And so you're selling, but you're not like in your face, like, hey, buy this selling.
Exactly.
Right.
I'll use an example. I wrote a post. Sorry, I've just noticed that my computer is unplugged and my battery is dying. There we go.
Oh, we don't want to lose you. Plug it in, plug it in.
I'm here. I was just like, what is that plug? Oh, that plug's not plugged in. So I wrote a post for this girl last week because I do some content writing as well. And it was not a sales post. It wasn't sales copy at all. And I just wrote this story. It was like this visual sensation. It was one of the like most proud moments I've ever had. I was like, this is beautiful. I want this for myself. And like it created this image and a sensation, and it was to sell a retreat that she's doing without being overly salesy. And I'm pretty sure she's like sold out her retreat. And I'm like, I'm not saying it was my copy, but I know that the copy developed this story and this sense and this feeling. I was like, I want to go on her retreat. And like, so it's all about the story. It's all about building that relationship and building that feeling. And yeah.
And I know that maybe some people are sitting there thinking that restaurants or coffee shops and it's more difficult to do that, but I have to totally disagree with you, because I feel like there's so many opportunities for you to, just create videos about like what the average day looks like in your business, or like you said, sit down with some of your suppliers and your employees and talk with them and story tell and share their background and where they came from and let people get to know them. Or I know I was actually just talking with somebody earlier in the week. They also own a restaurant, and there is a person that is at their door every morning at like 5:30 or whatever when they open for coffee in the morning. Like, he's a regular. Those are the kinds of people that you can be like highlighting and sharing their story. Like, I would read that. If a restaurant posted, hey, I'm going to pick on Tom again. Here's Tom. He is here every morning having coffee with us and has been for X amount of years. He grew up here. He's done this. He's done that. Like, he's retired and has grandkids or whatever. Like, I would read that and be like, oh, I love Tom. If I was up at that time, I'd totally go and have coffee with Tom.
Yes. Yeah, I think something like that is awesome. One thing that I did for my restaurant was it was once a week I highlighted one of our customers, but I asked them to write me a story about how my restaurant fit into their life. So it was like them telling me a story about like one of them, for example, was my chiropractor who was just up the road from us. And she wrote me like the story about how like I would sometimes deliver her a smoothie up the road when she was like really frazzled. And so I would just take it up, and like it was good for her business as well, because they were like, oh, Joanne gets a smoothie from Omnoms, or she gets lunch from Omnoms. And but at the same time, it was also like, that's a really good chiropractor. We go to the chiropractor there. You should go up there too. So it's like that little bump back as well. But just getting the customer's perspective on it as well. It's not just like, oh, this is Joanne. She comes in once a day to get a smoothie. It's, oh, I'm Joanne, and I do go in to get a smoothie, and this is why it fits into my lifestyle, and this is how it happens, and this is blah, 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 blah. And like it.
And this is why I go to this place, because their customer service is excellent, and she will bring me a smoothie if I can't get down there. And like,
exactly,
showing you going above and beyond. And I love user-generated content. It's difficult to get sometimes, but sometimes the reason why it's difficult is because you're just too afraid to ask.
Yeah, and making that ask it's kind of scary, but it's fun.
It is. Elaine says, I landed here by coincidence. Well, thank goodness for that.
Yes.
She's really enjoying this. She says, you're nailing it, Amanda.
Woohoo. Thanks, Elaine. I'm glad you got to join us.
And I think we're going to start a new hashtag called Coffee with Tom.
I'm in. I had coffee with Tom this morning, coincidentally.
You know what? We should have set it up maybe so that we could have done a 3-person conversation, and you could have sent Tom to a different room and he could have come in or whatever, and Tom could have joined us for coffee, but we'll have to do that in the future.
Yeah, we'll leave it on his computer though, so I don't know. my computer's not so good, and like my camera makes yellow, orange, and red. So I was like, Tom, I'm just gonna steal your computer for this.
Well, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
But that'd be cool. We could definitely do something and maybe have Tom on for coffee too.
That would be so much fun. If you're into video games, that's where Tom is all about.
I'm really not. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that's not into video games. If I have extra time to myself, I'm like a little bit more like you. I like to go for a walk. I like to be out with nature and just kind of rest and relax. I've got a busy 7-year-old and an even busier 37-year-old, and we've always got lots to do. So, okay, so we talked a little bit about like some bad social media, and then we kind of got into a little bit of a conversation about how we could turn some of that into good. So what are a few things that you have been seeing or you have been doing that people could probably take and implement right away? What's some good social media that they can be focusing on?
If you have reviews on your page, make sure you respond to them. And I see people who only respond to like a handful of them or none of them at all. And especially bad reviews, to respond and try to either rectify the situation or come up with something. Just because I've come across pages that have these bad reviews, and you know how on Facebook the reviews are highlighted right on the first page.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the bad reviews that are right there. And there's this one in particular that I'm thinking of, and this bad review is plastered right front and center on the page. And when you go to it, there's no response from this place, but there is a response from somebody who's not related to the restaurant, but it's quite a sarcastic remark about this negative review.
Right. So they're a little bit like an advocate for the restaurant.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, because I've actually worked with this restaurant, and I brought this to their attention, and they were like, oh, well, that's just so-and-so. We do know them. And I was like, okay, but do you see why it looks bad to somebody coming in with this negative review, and there's just a sarcastic remark from somebody not directly related to you is there, and that's it.
I love that you brought up reviews. I feel like everybody's always like, oh, what if somebody leaves me a bad review? Like, I don't know what to do.
You just need to approach it. You can't leave it there, especially the bad reviews. Like, obviously, good reviews say, thank you, glad you enjoyed your experience. Come on in. That's awesome. But the bad reviews, like, sometimes they need a little bit more response. Don't just ignore them, because
every single review needs to have your page touch on it, whether it's to like it or whether it's to be, hey, I'm sorry you had a bad experience. That is not how we like to operate. Mm-hmm. Please give me a call at this number. Please email me here, or please send me a private message so we can make it right.
Exactly. Like there's a restaurant that I know out in New Zealand. And when I was looking for my live series, I was looking for restaurants that had like really good social media so that I could refer to them and showcase them. Mm-hmm. And this restaurant got a 1-star review, and it was quite a long review. And it's actually a friend of mine who owns the restaurant. So he responded to this review saying, like, he didn't try to appease the customer or anything.
Yeah.
But he did address the fact that what the customer had been speaking about, they had already spoken about in person that day. And he thought that it was, kind of not really on for them to then be coming onto social media and blasting the restaurant when they had supposedly resolved it earlier in the day.
Right. Yeah.
And so even though the 1-star review didn't go away and it didn't get resolved, and it went back and forth a few times, but the fact that he's come in there and he said, like, look, this is the situation. This is what happened. He clarified it for anybody coming in. Yeah. It wasn't even necessarily for the person who wrote the 1-star review. I think it was more for the people coming in and being like, oh, they've got a 1-star review. Oh, this has already been rectified. Oh, this customer, like, what are they doing? And like, it went back and forth a wee bit, but like, just even when you're not, I don't want to say like kissing up to the customer, because it's not really what it is, but trying to appease them. Yeah. You stand your ground and you show, like, this is who we are. This is who I am. This is how I'm resolving the situation.
Exactly. Hold your head high and do it in the most professional way you can.
Exactly.
I always tell people like, you need to address it online because you need to show that you saw it and whatever, but take it offline. Because for somebody who's just having a really shitty day and they just like, you're just the target for the day. They're just, doesn't matter. You're never going to make them happy. They will continue to go and go and go and go. And so you have to take that offline if you can, right?
Exactly.
But I'm glad you brought this up too, because another thing is like, have you ever read Expedia reviews for like hotels and resorts and stuff? Sometimes like, yeah. I have to laugh at the idiots that go on there and give like a 1-star review because it was like, oh, it was cloudy and rainy all week when I was there. I had a terrible experience. I'm like, oh yeah, because they can actually control the weather. Like, do you have anything legit to actually complain about? Or
oh, that just reminds me of a couple of reviews that I got at my restaurant. One was a customer came up outside of hours, like we were not open. Our hours were very firmly posted everywhere. Like we closed at 3 o'clock or something. And right. The review was, we showed up at 3:20 and you were closed. 1 star. Like, okay.
Hashtag can't fix stupid.
Right? Like, but you can't say that. So it's right. Like, okay, well, why don't you come when we're open? Maybe 3 o'clock is too early to open or to close, and we'll look at that. But yeah, is that really worth a 1-star review because we were closed when we said we were going to be closed?
Right. Right.
And then there was another one just about the weather, because it's Northern Ireland and it rains a lot. And at the time we didn't have a lot of seats, but there was a seat right beside the door. So this person was there beside the door, and she was like, every time the door opened, I got wet with the rain. It's like, it was raining, yeah. And you were sitting beside the door. I know we don't have a lot of seats. Yes. Okay. We'll look at that issue. Yeah. But like, what do you want us to do?
Hey, thanks, customer. We'll look into trying to find a new location for that table that maybe will prevent that in the future. But next time, bring a rain jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Yeah, I know people are worried about it, but I mean, yeah, there's only one way to deal with it, and that's to just address it and do it in the best way you possibly can. Try to remove all your emotions, like cuss and swear and talk bad about them. To your significant other or to your computer screen, but show the world that you can handle it in the right way and stuff. So reviews is a good one. Okay. So that's some bad social media. What's something else? One more, and then we'll probably wrap up here.
I think like using Instagram, make sure that your pictures are actually really make your food really appealing. Because your food is delicious. If you have a restaurant, like 95% chance that your food is delicious. I mean, there's always that chance that the restaurant actually doesn't make that good food, but that happens. But so your food is delicious. You want to show people that your food is delicious. So you don't want to put up like a dimly lit, like blurry image of your stir fry. You want it to be this popping, vibrant, delicious looking food that makes you salivate and makes you really want to come in for that food. Like I still go through my Instagram feed for my restaurant and I'm like, damn. Can I eat there now?
Yes. And I feel like, to me, this is like probably one of the most obvious things that you should be doing, yet it's probably one of the things that most restaurants are lacking, is good photos of their actual food that they actually serve their customers. Like anybody can go online and find a copy-free or copyright-free fantastic photo of something. But if I come to your restaurant and sit down and that's not what's in front of me, you've just ruined my experience, right? Exactly. But on the other hand, your food, like you said, can be the best. But if you take a sloppy picture of it, or it just, I don't know, it doesn't translate the emotional connection that you need in order to make people get off their ass and come down to your restaurant and order your food.
Exactly. Like it works on the flip as well. There's a restaurant, I don't actually think they're still in business, but they were posting pictures of their food and it did not look appetizing at all.
I don't even know why people would post that, but
right. I don't know. I think it was more one of these things like, oh, well, people will come anyways. And it's like, but will they? Because you're not there anymore. Yeah. So like at least try some effort. Like it looked terrible. I never went to the restaurant. I was like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to eat that. That doesn't look nice. So that's made an emotional connection with me, I think that food looks rotten.
Well, and we don't know. You may or may not have been their ideal customer, right? Like, I like to think there's this one restaurant I can think of that they have some of the best French fries in town. Like, they're good. Mm-hmm. Best gravy in town or whatever. But when I see a picture of that on social media, it's brown on like a beige plate. And to me, there's nothing vibrant that stands out about that. So even though I like it, that picture doesn't make me kind of go, oh, I need to go and have that. Mm-hmm. But there's other people that like, they'll see that and immediately be like, I need to go for fries. Like,
true.
You know what I mean? Like, but only because I'm trying to put more color on my plate right now, right? I'm trying to get more green and orange and all that stuff too. So like, throw a couple sprigs of lettuce or like.
Yeah, exactly. Like put like a little parsley leaf on your gravy.
Parsley is like it's like the photo filter of a restaurant, right? A little bit of green can go a long way.
Or even like just get a colorful plate and put your beige food on it.
Or add a person. Have somebody holding the plate, and then there's like more to it than just this plate of brown.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like we say, like there's ways to make your food look appetizing even when it is like chips and gravy.
Right, chips. Northern Ireland thing, perhaps.
Of course.
Awesome. Okay, so we talked about good visuals. You had mentioned that you think restaurants should utilize Instagram.
Definitely.
Right? Mostly if you have good photos or photo-worthy stuff. But there was something that you brought up in that conversation that I didn't really think about myself, and that was having to do with the menu.
Yes. So like I was saying before, having like any kind of food allergies or just wanting to know your food, like what a restaurant's selling.
Marketing works.
And I'm pretty sure you're having them for dinner. So just hold on a few more hours. But putting your menu up on Instagram as well. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be something that comes up like once a week on your post, but having it in your Instagram feed, because it's something that people can scroll through and like they can go back and see like, oh, there's the menu. Like you should also have it very prominent on your Facebook page. Like there's even a spot for a restaurant and cafe on the Facebook page to upload your menu.
Yes.
You don't have to bury it in your pictures. You can actually physically just upload a menu and there it is. Exactly. And then like it's the same thing for Instagram. Like it doesn't need to be prominent, but having it on there just in case somebody's on there and you're like, oh, look, the menu. Oh, that's really, really good prices. I'm here right now. I'm in Copenhagen. Let's go. Like for example,
even portions of the menu, like, because I'm visualizing a big menu. Like to take that picture, it's hard to see or read on Instagram, but maybe you could do portions of it. Like here's our breakfast menu. Here's our lunch menu. Here's our our whatever seasonal specials or something.
Exactly. Like you can, with all the cool Instagram like things going on right now of things, like there's layouts, you can split your picture into big squares, and like have your menu being your entire feed for a few pages. Yeah. You can use your live and like, because there's a highlight reel now, so you can like put your menu into the highlights and be like, show pictures of the food as well as the menu. And
yes,
in highlights like breakfast, oh, this is our breakfast porridge and our breakfast smoothie and our breakfast menu, all in just a little dot there for highlights and breakfast.
And not to like add more to your already busy schedule, but then you can do Instagram stories and stuff too, right? Like, so if you do a Facebook Live in the kitchen that morning as you're prepping, talking about the specials and everything, you can take an extra like 2 minutes and do an Instagram story being like, hey, we just went live and talked about our specials on our Facebook page, or, here's a quick, like just shorten it up, but you're kind of in the middle of doing that all anyways, and it's just one little extra step that can actually go a long way for you.
Exactly. There's 2 UK-based businesses that are killing it on Instagram stories right now. Deliciously Ella brand and the Happy Pear. Sometimes I think the Happy Pear is a wee bit too much, but they like post so regularly on their Instagram stories, and it's amazing just to go through and you can actually see their day. Like you see, I feel like I know those guys. Like
exactly.
it's amazing, and just the fact that they're using their Instagram stories in that way is like, it's really cool, and it's really inspiring. It's an inspiration for other restaurants on how they can do it.
I love finding other businesses in a particular niche and watching them and following them, and not stealing their ideas, but watching what they're doing, what appeals to me or what is working for them, and then figuring out ways to make it work for me or my clients too. Like that's how we all learn. Oh, somebody also knows of the Happy Pair. So if you're a restaurant owner, yeah.
They're just south of Dublin, so they're only about maybe 3 hours from me, and I haven't been there, and it makes me so sad.
Well, next time you need some copy for your little blog about where you go and try different food and coffee in different places, you might have to take a road trip south.
I know. Tom, goal for the summer, go to the Happy Pair.
Yes. And then you can use the hashtag coffee with Tom.
Yes.
Cool. That was a good tip that I think a lot of people maybe forget about, or I know it feels intimidating because it's like, that's just one more thing to do. But there is a way where you can cross-utilize your content and reuse stuff too. So, if you did a Facebook video or something, you can download it, you can upload it to Instagram, or take little bits here and there and try to utilize as much as you can of what you have without having to basically create more work for yourself and having to do more.
Exactly. Just like these videos, these live sessions, the coffee sessions that you're doing, you were saying you upload them onto YouTube.
Yes.
And like, you can do so much with that now. We can make blog posts out of this. We can cut them down and do like 60 second Instagram clips on like the cool information, and
pull out the really good little golden nuggets and have them as short little clips and stuff. Totally. Yeah. I feel like people feel like they always have to make new stuff all the time, but I mean, at the beginning you kind of have to, because and you've admitted to it too. At the beginning, you're kind of trying to figure out what's working for you, because social media is not a one size fits all. It depends on who your customers are. It depends on who you are and whatever. And you really have to find the things that you like, that actually work for you. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to do it, whether it works for you or not. And then of course, when it works for you, then that's your motivation to continue to do more of it, right? Rinse and repeat. Find what works and continue to do it in like different ways or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, I think we kind of touched on everything we talked about as far as all my notes and everything are concerned. You did have one little tagline when we were talking that I wrote down that I really like. I want to share it with everybody. Okay. One of Amanda's hashtag golden nuggets is when it comes to social media, you said it shows up when you don't have to.
Exactly.
Right. So by using a little bit of strategy and doing things like a daily special, you said when you had a restaurant, you knew what your specials were. And some restaurants may only know a week in advance, but some may be longer, like a whole month. But sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and schedule out something like the daily specials and prime them to go out at the right time according to whether it's breakfast or lunch or whatever. That's half of your social media for Facebook done.
Yeah, take
like 1 or 2 cups of coffee.
Done.
Yeah. And it's not like one and done and walk away. Then you're just there to be able to manage it, right? So when people start interacting with you or asking questions or, Facebook messaging you an order, or like, because people will do that. They use social media to book appointments and buy stuff. Then you are able to handle that and not have to worry about all the other stuff.
Exactly. It just takes that stress off, knowing that even if you have had a ridiculously busy morning and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're like, oh, well, I know I've already had 3 posts go up today. It's fine. I'll reply to all the messages now.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. I think we talked about a lot of really great stuff today. And I have to thank all your friends and connections that hopped on with us today. They were great. They took part in the conversation, and I loved kind of meeting you all. So I invite everybody. I invite everybody to try and hop on with the Creative Coffee Cafe every Thursday at noon is sort of what we're going for here. I've got a couple other guests coming up this month that I think everybody will enjoy. But Amanda, you've been a real pleasure.
It's been lovely chatting with you, Brooke. Thanks so much for having me.
It's nice to see you back on Canadian soil.
It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions for Amanda, you can plunk them into the comments, or you can message us at the end here. Amanda will be around to answer questions, or I can connect with her to do that. You can find her and Tom over at Thankful Cow Solutions.
That's us.
Which I've tagged in the video as well. So, Tom says he's enjoyed the chat, so at least we've made him happy.
Yay.
Awesome.
I'll hear you later, Tom.
Enjoy your chips later, Tom.
I do.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll speak with you soon.